My name is Tomike, and this is the story of my sister Adebayo Bolaji Lillian. Let's start at the beginning. My parents, Mr. and Mrs. Adebayo, had their first child together. After the birth of Bola, they separated for 2 years. During this time, father had an affair with Funke, his mistress, and they had a son named Biodun. After 2 years of separation, my parents reunited and then they welcomed me to Mike. But things never returned to normal. When I was 4 years old, my mother learned that father's mistress, Funke, had twin girls about my age for my father. The news broke her. They had been through a lot together and her heart couldn't take it. 2 years later, mother died. About 2 months after mother's death, father married his mistress, Funke, and then our troubles began. Our new mother did not outrightly deny us food or our basic needs, but she made us feel our mother's absence. Everything we did was a problem. She would start and end every sentence with, "Is that how your mother raised you?" When we cried, she would say, "Please I'm not the one who killed your mother. We would have shared your father equally, but she wanted him for herself. Doesn't the Bible teach us to share?" Despite Bola's young age, she was assigned most of the work. Her duties also included helping out at mother's restaurant before and after school. Things worsened as we grew older. Our stepmother made it seem like our step-siblings and us were in a competition. 1 week after Bola's 17th birthday, mother discovered Bola was pregnant. I recall crying so much as Bola was beaten to the point she almost fainted. "You have disgraced this family. People will think I didn't train you well, but God knows I did my best. But since I'm not your mother now, how will you listen to me?" Mommy Funke had said. "You can't live in this house, what will people say? How do you expect your sisters to get married with this shame you have brought upon us? At least, if you wouldn't consider my children, consider your own sister. Anyway, your father returns tomorrow, so wait for him," she concluded. That night, I recall crying along with Bola. What was she thinking? I couldn't believe she was pregnant. I knew she liked Benga, but my tiny mind was still attempting to understand everything that was going on. As we waited for father's return, we knew mother's decision was final, but we prayed for a miracle. As father drove in on Saturday afternoon, I could see Bola shaking. Her world was collapsing, and I was part of it. "Your daughter has gotten pregnant," mother announced as soon as father entered the parlor. "What kind of joke is this?" father said. "Ask her now. Ask her. Abi, Bola, are you not pregnant?" mother said. Father gave Bola his own beating. Afterwards, they marched down to Benga's house. Benga's parents, who were pastors, did not want anything to do with the pregnancy. And since their son had departed for studies, there was nothing they could do. That evening, father told Bola she had only 2 options. 1, make the pregnancy disappear overnight. Or 2, call Benga and ask him to accept responsibilities for his actions. Failure to do any of these would mean she would leave the house. A week after father said this, he came home one day and threw Bola out. That night, she slept at the community school and returned in the morning to beg to be let in, but her pleas went unheard. She couldn't go to any of her relatives' homes because nobody wanted father's troubles. After a week of wandering about with no one ready to assist her for fear of father's anger, Bola decided to go to the big city. She had the 3,000 naira she had earned by doing people's hair on our streets. It wasn't going to be easy, but her friend Shola had offered her a place to stay. Shola, who just gained admission into the state college, was staying in the school's hostel. She wasn't sure how it would work out, but she'd seen people house friends and assumed they'll figure it out. Bola, who was 2 months pregnant, at the time, began making hair for Shola's roommates and other girls on the block. But as the pregnancy progressed, several housemates became uncomfortable with her presence. After 2 months of residing with Shola, Bola was able to save some money, and with the additional cash Shola gave her, she rented a room off campus with 3 other ladies and was able to buy a stove and a mat with the additional cash left. Shola had given her one of her pots. It wasn't much, but she was glad she had a place to stay. As the day progressed, she gained more clients, but the money was hardly enough because Bola could only make the basic braids, which didn't pay so well. Some days Shola would bring food for her, and on certain days she slept hungry because there was nothing to eat. From the little money Bola made, she was saving up for a small phone as she was losing customers because they couldn't reach her when needed. She also needed to start saving up for the baby because she will be unable to work a few weeks after the baby is born. To make additional money, she started washing clothes and cleaning people's homes. Her bosses occasionally gave her food or clothes because her old clothes no longer fit due to her growing belly. With the help of Mrs. Biodun, one of Bola's employers, and the little money she saved, Bola was able to get a room for herself. It was a relief as the other girls were fond of mocking her or just generally hated having her around. Bolaji had found a small congregation and began worshipping with them. The members didn't have much, but they occasionally checked on her and gave her things. A month before having her baby, Bola called home. She did not call my parents, but a classmate of hers. She informed me she had gotten herself a room and was due in a few weeks. Then she asked how I was doing, but I couldn't explain, so I just cried and she joined me. Our conversation ended quickly since she didn't have much airtime, but I appreciated the few minutes we had. Life had not been the same without her. Stepmother made it a point to remind me of the disgrace Bola had brought to the family and how I would end up like her if I didn't take care. Bola gave birth 3 weeks after our call to Tolu Lokwe. God had provided for Bolaji even when she believed her life was over. 1 month after, Bola returned to work. She couldn't afford to stay at home any longer. She would lie little Tolu in the corner while she washed or cleaned the house. It wasn't easy as Tolu got a little more demanding as the day went by. Bola had also started cooking in a restaurant. She would cook from 5 a.m. in the morning till 9 a.m. Then she would go clean houses or do laundry or whatever job they had for her. By 5 p.m. she would return to the restaurant to assist prepare for the next day's job. The skills she learned at Stepmother's restaurant was finally paying off. 4 months after Tolu's birth, Tolu got very ill. Bola spent all her savings, but Tolu didn't get better. She had done all she could, but nothing seemed to go well. God, please help me, she had screamed out one night. She knew Tolu was anxious from all the hard work they performed every day, but she didn't have a choice, they had to survive. A week later, Tolu recovered, but Bola had lost her job at the restaurant. I was born with wealth, she murmured to herself, referring to her name Bolaji. It was better to lose her job at the restaurant than risk being out with her sick child. One day, Mrs. Biondu, Bola's top client, informed her that they would be relocating out of the country within a month. Bola was happy for them, but sad because she and Tolu did most of their feeding at Mrs. Biondu's house. She wondered how they would cope. Before Mrs. Biondu left, she gave Bola one of her used Android phone, some food and some money. As she hugged Bola to say farewell, her final words to her were, "It is well, God is with you." Mrs. Biondu had provided Bola with enough food for a month, but she needed to find another cleaning job. She had been turned down from many jobs because of her baby, as her employers didn't want a child around their environment. One day she was at home and she took out the phone Mrs. Biondo had given her to watch a movie so she could forget her pain for the moment. While scrolling through the list of videos, she came across a video of a woman tying gele. Ah, I can do this now. And just like that, a new skill and business was born. So throughout the week, she would wash and clean people's homes while occasionally making hair. And on weekends, she would focus on her gele business. Whatever she didn't know, she looked it up on YouTube. One day, she decided to start a channel just for fun to share her newly learned gele skills with others. After a few months, she decided to focus the channel on herself and her personal journey. She was 20 years old at the time. When my stepmother heard of it, she laughed out loud. So, it's not enough that she disgraced herself to everyone in this community. Now she wants to show her stupidity online. Shame. Useless. She cursed. And you, she pointed at me. Better stay away from her. I know you call her. Better stay away or be ready to leave my house, she said. Her channel, Live with Bola, increased over time as people related with her after seeing how hard she tried to make life work for herself and Tolu. It was difficult at first, but she eventually learned how to navigate the system. 2 years later, she had monetized her channel and was receiving little amounts of money to help them survive. And by her 23rd birthday, she was able to move into a decent flat. Things were looking good for them. A year later, I moved home with my sister Bola, who could now afford my university expenses, and I no longer felt threatened by my stepmother and father. I was happier with my sister. By her 7th year on YouTube, she had established a salon, Beauty by Bola, where I work and manage, a laundry service, Bola Washes, and a restaurant, Bola Meals. She had also gotten a HND in business management, moved into a bigger house, and we were on our way to Dubai for a long deserved vacation.